Hi, thank you for joining us today on our virtual recruiting event and for your interest in working for the United States Census Bureau. The United States Census Bureau is a part of the Department of Commerce, and we are an equal opportunity employer. Thank you for coming. My name is Brenda Sampson. I am a field survey technician. I've been with the Census Bureau now for 18 years. We do a lot more than just the every 10 years when we are doing the population for the United States. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So what do we do? Other than the population count that we do every 10 years, our mission with the United States Census Bureau is also to serve the nation as the leader provider of quality data about its people and the economy. We virtually do surveys and studies on every aspect of American way. So we do this under the authority of the Constitution. We operate under Title 13 and 26. And what that means to you is anything you say to us is completely confidential. Under penalty of law, we cannot repeat anything that you can tell us as far as your name, your address, any of your personal information. The only thing that is kept when we do a study with you is the statistics of that study. Our goal is to provide the best mix of timelines, relevancy, quality, and cost for the data we collect and the services we provide. One of the things that you might notice in this picture is we have a Census Bureau lady, and she's holding a laptop computer. When you work for the Census Bureau under a field position, that is how you collect your data. We provide you with the laptop and everything that you need. So where do we operate? We operate in every state in the Union and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. The Census Bureau Regional Office are responsible for the data collection, data dissemination, and geographic operations. The regional offices are located in Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, New York, and Philadelphia. We are under the Denver region. Our regional office maintains a network of professional field representatives who gather data by personal visit or telephone contact. Our regional office in our region encompasses the states of Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Kansas, Oklahoma, North and South Dakota, as well as Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. So as you see, we have field representatives who are in our southern warm states, all the way up to our cold states in Montana and North Dakota. And all of our regions are operating under the same surveys all the time. Thank you very much. Okay, so a day in the life of a census employee. Well, as you know now, our country is facing a pandemic that we have never faced in this century. So what do we do as with the Census Bureau to try to maintain the safety for not only our employees, but for the public? We are adapting and delaying some of our operations to protect the health and safety of not only our staff and the public, and also make sure that the surveys get completed on time and correctly. Employees of the Census Bureau must wear a face mask and follow all protocols set by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. This includes the use of hand sanitizers as well as keeping social distances recommendations. So even if your local government lifts the restrictions of wearing a mask, at this time the Census Bureau requires all field employees and census employees on federal properties to wear protective masks and to follow up on the Census Bureau standards. In this you can see that the employee is talking to someone in their home. That's how we do our studies, but we also do them by phone. So we're looking out to be not only for the safety of the employee, but also for the public. So we'll talk a little bit about the duties of a field representative. So I'd like for you to follow along with me with this video and get an idea of what's like in the day of a field representative. Okay. Okay, thank you for watching it with us. So as you saw, we employ people from all walks of life. We really appreciate the opportunity when we are able to hire field representatives who are bilingual or who are able to promote their own community. There will be an opportunity for me to answer any questions that you have in just a few moments. I just want to go over a couple of things that might already be in your mind. What is really required, as far as the duties of being a census employee? We look for someone who has good communication skills, both oral and written, because the data that you collect is important to our nation. It gives us an opportunity to give that data not only to the government, but also in your own community to make good decisions. You are going to be the conduction of ongoing and periodic surveys that provide comprehensive statistical data about the nation. There's not very much that you do in your life that the census doesn't touch. For instance, did you know that the employment survey that we do gives us data at the end of every month as to whether the employment rates have risen or the unemployment rates have fallen. So without that information that was gathered by the Census Bureau employees, our country would not be able to make some of the decisions that are really necessary for us right now. Part of your duties would be to locate and drive to addresses and assigned locations. So for instance, you may do a survey that we do called the Survey of Construction. So you would go to the site to see if the construction is underway, what is the stage of it. So we do many different studies and surveys, hundreds of them. So you would conduct the interview based on the training that we provide to you. You will use a laptop computer and input the information into the computer. Before you begin the work, you of course have to go to training, and our training is provided in, it's usually in Denver. It's paid training, but sometimes it is done on a more local level depending on the survey. That would be something that would be discussed with you in the process of your interview. The survey does require 4 to 5 days of training and before you can begin your work in the area. So having basic computer knowledge is the first thing that you would need, as also being willing to follow the scripts and record the high quality data that the U.S. Census needs. Also the ability to walk on uneven ground and climb steps to selected units is often important too. So let's go to our next slide and see if we have any questions. What I'd like to do here is go over some of the frequently asked questions, give you some information on what most people ask, and then after I've covered this, if you have additional questions, then I'll be happy to try to answer that for you. So how many hours would I normally work? 30 to 40 a month or more hours can be available depending on the assignment. but 30 to 40 is the minimal. So if you would need that many hours available. What kind, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the hours. The hours that you work is dependent, first of all, on the study that you're doing, but it's also dependent on your availability. The beauty of working this job as a field representative, you set your own hours and your own pace. So you do have some restrictions as far as you don't work in the middle of the night, but you do have an opportunity to work at times when people are available for you to talk to them. So what kind of experience would you need? Well, to be able to do this job, you actually don't have to have any previous survey experience in this specific area. We will teach you. We do want you to have some basic knowledge of using a computer. You do need a driver's license. You need to have completed a high school diploma or a GED. You must be a U.S. citizen, and you must be able to speak and read and write English. But as far as the experience on the specific surveys, we teach you all that. Now the pay. The pay is dependent on the area that you work in. As we showed earlier, our area in our region is very vast. It goes from the most southern regions to the most northern regions. So the pay is dependent upon the county in which you live in. It's not based on your previous experience or any kind of educational qualifications. It's based on where you live. And that does change. As you are with us, there are raises and increases. The pay, if you are bilingual, is exactly the same. So anyone who begins in this job, their pay is based on where they live. And we go over that a little bit more carefully because it's all confidential. We'll go over that more carefully in your actual interview. Do we promote within? We absolutely do, but not solely. So someone who is working with the Census Bureau already, and there's an opportunity where they could go into a different area or take on additional surveys, we do encourage them to apply for that. But it's also open to people who have no experience in it, who want to apply for those positions. So if I haven't answered your question now, would you tell me what questions you might have? Well, you might want to know how to apply. Well, the Census Bureau is becoming more and more technological. So we would like for you to send us an email to denver.recruit@census.gov. You would include in that your name, your address, the best time to reach you, how you heard about the job, and of your phone number. So by you sending an email, we're going to have your email, your name, your address, and your phone number. If that is not something that you can do, or you have additional questions, you may also call us. So and that phone number is on the screen at 877-474-5226, which it does also accept messages. But we want to make sure that you have every opportunity to pursue this career if it's something that you're interested in, because a job with the census can be as short as a few weeks. It could be a few months, like when we did the 2020, that went over several months, or it can go for years. I personally have worked for the Census Bureau for 18 years in working with the different surveys and studies. So if you're interested in pursuing this, I would love to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for all that useful information. If you have any questions at the moment, job seekers, please feel free to type in your questions at the bottom of the screen on the Q&A box, and then I'll go ahead and read them out and Brenda will answer them live. Brenda, we do have a question. Does the workload also depend on your area?
It can depend on your area, because when we have the more metropolitan areas where we have a higher population, then you may have more cases. But it basically will also depend on which study that you are working.
Great, thank you, Brenda. I have a question for you, Brenda. If the weather is off that day, if it's like rainy or it's windy, does a field representative for the U.S. Census Bureau still have to work that day?
Oh, no, that is the beauty of this job, is that you do set your own schedule. So we do encourage our employees to be safe, first of all. Above all other things, we encourage them to be safe. So once you have completed your training and you have your assignment of which addresses that you are to interview, sometimes that interview can be done by phone. It's to the courtesy of the people who are there. So if you have a rainy day when you had planned on going out, you can change that to making telephone calls or not go out at all that day, because you set your own schedule. That's one of the good things about this job, is that it's very flexible, and that you do talk to people at a time that's convenient for them, but that usually works out convenient for you too.
Thank you, Brenda. So I have two more questions for you. The first one is, does this work is for after hours and weekends? I have a full-time job.
Then this job is probably perfect for you, because a lot of people do this job as a second job, and it gives you an opportunity to be service to your community and get paid for it. If you think about it, most people do work. So when is the best time to probably talk to them, which would be in the evenings. So you can set your appointments by phone or in person to do those interviews at your schedule. So if you want to work a couple of evenings and then on the weekend, this is probably a really good job for you. We do ask that you be able to commit to at least 30 hours a month. So if that's something that interests you, then definitely would like to talk to you.
Thank you. The next question is, do we get to choose a study we work for, or is it assigned?
Well, you don't get to choose a study. It's according to where we have openings, because a lot of times people who begin working in one of our studies, they love it, and then they just stay forever. But sometimes we will have openings in more than one, but that's something that could be determined during your interview. So the interview process is set up this way. You go into, you go to Denver.recruit and at census.gov, and you send us that you're interested in working for us. And then you would have an interview which would make you eligible for any survey that we do. At that time, we can discuss with you which surveys we have openings in, how many hours would it be involved, and give you a little bit more information about that. So as far as you selecting which one, no, not really. But at the same time, sometimes there's more than one opportunity, and then you can choose.
Thank you, Brenda. The next question we have is there a different pay rate depending on the day or time you work?
There is. When you work the normal daytime hours of 8 to 6 p.m., that is considered regular work hours. Anything after 6 p.m. is considered night differential. And as far as exactly what the night differential is, it will be, of course, depend on which county you're in, but it is a percentage increase. So we do not pay holiday pay. So if you work on a holiday, your pay would be exactly the same. So if you worked on the evening of a holiday, it would be nighttime differential. But yes, it is different if you're working after 6 p.m.
Great, thank you. Another question that I have is, if you are bilingual, are you able to relocate to a different state, or do you have the ability to allow someone else to work at a state other than the one they're located in?
So that's a really good question. So you're hired based on where you're living now. If you wanted to move to a different area, you absolutely, we do this in all over the nation. We do not pay for that. But if, let's just say that you were living now in New Mexico and you decided that you wanted to move to Texas, the experience that you have can transfer with you. So yes, I hope that answered your question.
No, it did. Thank you. Also, what type of equipment does the U.S. Census provide to the employee?
We provide a laptop computer with all the peripherals with it, such as, you know, the charging and everything that goes with that laptop. It is especially designed to be used only for the Census Bureau. So everything that you do in that, the typing that you do to do your surveys, it's encrypted when it goes out. So it's a safe instrument. We do not provide you with telephones. We do provide you with masks, and also we do encourage you to use hand sanitizers. That's available too on a limited basis, but we do provide masks.
Thank you, Brenda. I have one more question for you. How long does the process take from the time that you apply to the time to get hired?
Okay, that's a good question also, because a lot of times when you're working out in the public sector and not on a governmental level, you expect that the application process to be rather quick. It is not. The reason that it's not is because there's several levels that have to go through and to be appointed with the federal government. So the first thing you do is you put in your interest, and then you would be given an application to fill out. Then after that, if you are still interested, then you would have an interview, and then after the interview, a background check is done. So all of that takes time. So it could take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, or it could take longer from the time that you have an interest to begin. But the thing about that is we have to be careful to be sure that the people that we hire are people that can represent the government and be with the public. So it is a lengthy process, but I can tell you it's worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brenda. At this time, job seekers, if you guys have any further questions for Brenda or I, please feel free to follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to apply for the U.S. Census Bureau. If you also have any questions, you can contact the New Mexico Workforce Connection office here in Las Cruces at 575-524-6250, or you can go onto our website at www.jobs.state.nm.us. Thank you, Brenda, again for all the helpful information you provided us today.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for attending. And please, just if you please share this. If you know someone who is a college student, or someone who is recently retired, or someone who is looking to add supplemental income, but they don't want that 9-to-5 job, or they don't want to work at the convenience store, I'm a good answer. So share with them this denver.recruit@census.gov. Would love to hear from you. And if any of you have any questions or any comments about this, we would love to have that. So thank you very much for attending today. The Census Bureau would love to have you as a part of our team.
Thank you, everyone. As well, this will be on our Facebook page at EmployNM if you would like to rewatch it, or if you want to forward it to anybody else that would be interested in working for the U.S. Census. Thank you.
Thank you.